Now, Nigeria is the focus of today's perspective, where there's a phrase said to be used by some of the older Nigerians to describe the younger 20-somethings. They call them the coconut head generation. It's an insult meaning lazy and apathetic. And my next guest, the filmmaker Alain Kassanda, has taken that name for his documentary, which goes a long way in showing quite the opposite, how many young Nigerians are politically engaged and fighting for more for their country. Now, it focuses on the lives of the students at the country's oldest university in Ibadan. And Alain is with me, along with the visual director for the film, Anthony Ayodele. Let's start with you, Alain. Just set out the background for this, why you wanted to look at this.
Yeah, I've been living in Ibadan for 4 years, and I started the movie club with a group of students and lecturers in Ibadan, mainly students. And after 1 year, a new set of students came on board, and they were heavily politicized, and some of them cinephiles. And then I took my camera because I was witnessing really interesting discussions about various topics, using films as an excuse to gather and just talk about society, politics. And then I started to document how the students were organizing the movie club and picking the topics and how they were engaging each other. And that's how the idea of the film started.
And Anthony, as a visual director, watching this, you decide not to use a narrator. You decide to, get in there. This is fly-on-the-wall style documentary. How was that? Because when you're watching a lot of things, you think, are they playing up to the cameras? But everything that happens and takes place, all the debates, is genuine.
So first, to start, I would like to say that Alain is actually the director of the film.
Yeah.
I am involved in the film more as a character in the film, presenting my photographs that are very relevant also to the conversation of youth activism and political consciousness in Nigeria. I was invited to the film club also to show my work as it's relevant to the people in the film club, and I was stunned, just like it was, to see the level of debate and political consciousness among the people. It is real and genuine. Like, none of it is staged. It's just a documentary.
Just talk us through some of the themes that people will see, Alain. Basically, you're in a university where it's all of the dreams, the hopes and fears about life, the worry about some of the things that are synonymous, really, with Nigeria. You talk about corruption, whether it's kidnappings, whether it's terrorism, Islamist extremism as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I find important in cinema is how you can shape our imaginaries. Because I wanted to, that's also a trend in all my films. I want to deconstruct the way we are, with our relationship with some certain part of the world, notably Africa. I'm really fed up of this narrative of chaos, of endemic violence and corruption when it comes to Nigeria. I want to also highlight the banality of life, the beauty and the intelligence of people. That's had been my trend in all my films. I did Trouble Sleep before Coconut Head Generation. It was the same. So in this film, I'm really focused on how this movie club has become really inclusive and also a safe space where you can address various topics like sexuality, politics, patriarchy, and really try to challenge the main narrative. And I really hope that the viewers will see Nigerians as pairs, because all this film is also has been shown in Paris. What I found interesting is that the audience here really could relate to the topics, to the struggle, especially when it came to police violence, police brutality. We are facing a tremendous democratic crisis in France, with police beating up demonstration currently. So people could really relate to the topics that are addressed in the film.
There's a moment in it where one of the students stands up, gives a sort of a poem of sorts, where he stands up and says, Britain was the grandmother of this country. Nigeria, our governments before us were the mother, and they've let us down. Nigerians haven't let us live as Nigerians. So tell us a bit about that.
The name of the poet is Morayo, and it's such a brilliant poem that really encapsulates the current situation, both from a historical and contemporary perspective. Basically, it's trying to say that our problems are really, really rooted, a lot of them, in colonialism, the form of policing, the form of brutality. Basically, it's not cultural to us, so the narrative that there is a lot more corruption or a lot more chaos in our society is a lie. And this is why the film that Alain make and my documentaries are important, because they give an alternative voice to some of the loudest voices that tell some of these incomplete stories about us. Africa is full of intellectual, young, old people. It's a very diverse place with also very complex problems that are not only unique to us. I mean, I was also a witness to the protest here, and just like I documented at NSAS, I did some documentations here, and there are many similarities, especially like Alain mentioned. A lot of people also in Nigeria would not believe the level that the police gets to here. And I feel like some of these conversations, we need to find more ways to connect on a global level, because they are becoming global problems where the people are finding it increasingly difficult to have a conversation with people that really begged us to have power to do some things for us.
I think it works as a beautiful time capsule piece as well, because it's set in a backdrop with elections going on, not just around Nigeria, but other parts of West Africa too. And there's a whole conversation about, you mentioned, not that trying to fight against this reputation of the 419 scam or corruption. The whole conversation where the students stand up and say, it's a whole scam university. We get an education, we can't get jobs.
Well,
That's a really tricky thing as well, because the unemployment rate for youth in Nigeria is close to 50%. That was also one of the main aspirations for students to take on the streets. But the problem is that all this aspiration to change has been crushed by the recent events in Nigeria. People elected, there was in late February, there was the presidential election, then the governmental election that saw the victory, the fraudulent victory.
Which the opposition are still alleging was fraud.
Victory of Ahmed Tinubu, the incumbent party. But how did he win the election? Through violence, vote buying, ballot snatching, intimidation, also the use of hate rhetoric, anti-Igbo in Lagos, for instance. So the peaceful transition that people aspire to through vote had been crushed. So now we are just hoping that the change that is actually occurring in the state of mind of people, because a lot of youth have been heavily politicized during these events, will actually translate politically. But things take time, and I hope that change will occur.
I mean, definitely that change is occurring, because the last elections that we had just a few weeks ago had the largest voter turnout, especially youth votes turnout, and it was intentional. And despite all of the voter suppression, which I witnessed because I was in Nigeria, I'm Nigerian, it was real. Like people ran from the polling units because thugs were showing up with weapons and forcing people to vote for certain political parties or restricting people from voting for who they want. So it was not a free and fair election. And I mean, we are more connected in these stories because just a few weeks or a few days after this election, the newly elected, president, through this, process that is still being contested, was here in France, just having a little holiday. So, I mean, we all need to know more than, the loudest voices, like I said. Like, we need to know more than the stereotype stories and how much more the violence and the facilitators of the violence on people are connected. The people should be connected to.
Anthony, Alain Kassanda, thank you. I know it's already aired here or released in France. It's about to be released in New York. You've got a premiere coming in a few days' time. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.